Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk. I'm here today out at the Pittsworth men's shed. So after last week when I had interviewed the women from the women's shed in Toowoomba for my series Given F Over 50, I decided that I better balance up the ledger with some of the men's shed. And before Christmas I'd been out in Pittsworth for the Christmas party of the men's shed, and I'd met the past president, who is Merv Hindenburg, but he's got a new title now. His title is Special Projects Officer. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk, Merv.
Thank you, Megan.
Now, you told me at the Christmas party that you have got a special project on the go. Can you tell me what it's all about?
Yeah, it's a little bit of senile decay madness or something. I don't know what it is really, but to put it into perspective, I grew up on the Murray River at Swan Hill, and I used to fish in the river when I was a young boy. And I used to wonder where the water come from down the river and where it went to, and always dreamed about getting in a canoe or a boat or something and travelling down the river. And over the years I've travelled on different parts of the river, but I've never ever taken a big journey. So I thought, well, we could build a raft and we could take it down the river. And I brought the idea to the men's shed here and got a fair amount of laughter and joking about it. But then all of a sudden different guys started saying, well, I can organise this and I can organise that. And we went to Wagner's and asked whether they'd supply composite fibre material to build a raft, and the end result is what you've seen today. So we've built the raft, we've tested it, it floats, we're all still here. And we're going to set off on the 2nd of August. And we're going to travel from Yarrawonga to Swan Hill, which is a distance of 600 kilometres. So we're going to travel down the Newell Highway through places like Gundawindi, Moree, Dubbo, Forbes Parks, and along the way we'll be calling into sheds and talking to the different guys in the different sheds. And the purpose of the whole exercise is we're going to be raising money for prostate cancer. It's a Bloke Thing Foundation, but more importantly, we're also going to be raising awareness of the disease and what guys should be doing in regards to their own personal health and what to look out for with prostate cancer.
Well, Merv, from a childhood dream to a reality, that's quite something. I want to go back and talk about the prostate cancer in a little bit, because at your lunch you had Ruth Logan come and speak, and she works for It's a Bloke Thing, and she was very insightful. So we'll go back to that in a minute. Tell me and tell the listeners, describe what the raft looks like.
Well, it's built out of composite fibre, so it's a basic composite fibre frame, and it has 8 polycarbonate drums underneath it, which is the buoyancy part of the raft. It has handrails around it. It's got a 9 horsepower motor to assist us in getting out of difficult current situations and steering situations on the river. It's just a basic raft. It'll be all tricked up with sign writing and all that sort of stuff. We're out there chasing sponsors and that now, so that'll all happen. So
Merv, I take it that you don't sleep on the raft?
No.
Do you put it in every day and go a section of the Murray? Is that how it works?
We're going to try and average about 110 kilometres a day, and we'll know on the first day.
That's in the water, 110k?
Yeah. So the difference between travelling on the land from point to point and travelling on the river is about half. So the river twists and turns and goes all over the place. So we hope we're leaving on the 2nd of August, and we hope to be in Swan Hill around about the 12th of August.
Merv, what happens if the raft capsizes? What happens for someone like you?
Hey, I knew you were going to ask that. Well, I can't swim. And one of the other guys who goes on the raft, he can't swim either. And we both over 70. I'm 72-year-old. Bit late to learn to swim now, but we'll wear a life vest, and we're going to have a safety boat travel with us. So Rusty will travel with us, and we'll rely on him to fish us out of the drink if we fall in.
So does it not frighten you, the idea of it capsizing?
No.
You're right.
It won't capsize her.
Is it just the two of you, or is there more people who will be coming on there?
Well, no, there'll be probably 3 on the raft, and but there'll be a ground crew. Ruth Logan's going to be travelling with us, doing her It's a Bloke Thing roadshow, and we're going to have some of our members are going to be travelling with caravans and providing support services for us as we travel along, getting our lunch for us and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. What do you imagine every day to look like? How long, what sort of time does it take to do about 110 Ks?
It's going to depend a little bit on the river flows. At the moment, the river's running at about 8 kilometres an hour, and we have the capacity with the motor to do probably another 8 kilometres an hour. So we can get along probably somewhere between 14 and 16 kilometres an hour, and we'll be looking at doing 10-hour days.
And what do you reckon after the first day, when you've told all your stories, you've heard all the other guys' stories, what will the hours and hours and hours involve, do you think?
Well, probably an esky.
What about like getting sunburnt and everything?
Well, it's in August. We have shade cloth over the top of the raft, and we'll take all the normal precautions. We'll sunblock but it's more going to be the cold in August. It can still be fairly chilly down there.
So let's talk then, Merv, about prostate cancer. What has motivated you and the Pittsworth Men's Shed to have that as your cause for this fundraising effort?
Ruth Logan has been a good friend of ours. She's been out here on a number of occasions, spreading the word. A lot of our members have either had prostate cancer or someone in their family has. And the common thread, where everywhere we go and everyone we talk to, just about everyone says, oh yeah, I've had that, or my brother Bob had it, or whatever. So we thought that if we can do our little bit, we've set ourselves a target to raise, and if we can raise that money, it'll make a difference. And hopefully we can do something for people that are suffering from prostate cancer.
So fundraising is another F word, and I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 4DDB with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're in Big Little Small Talk. We're out at the Men's Shed. We're talking in our series of Give an F over 50, and it's about, in conjunction with WordFest, which is running in Toowoomba. And it's all about writing and reading and telling stories. And I'm hearing Merv's stories out here about why they're raising money for prostate cancer. Merv, that touches on fitness, and I wanted to ask you, as part of this series, a series of questions, what is your relationship with fitness yourself and health?
Oh, look at me. I'm a picture of perfect health. I try to look after myself. I'm a little bit overweight, and I'm working on that at the moment. I'm going to set myself a target to lose a bit of weight before the raft, just to make it a bit easier. But I look after my prostate cancer tests. I make sure I have them every 6 or 12 months, and my partner's just recently had a real fight with cancer. So we are very mindful of it, and we try to do the right thing.
Before we go on to the other F words, With the early signs of prostate cancer, what should we be looking for, or what should men be aware of? What's a sort of single message that Ruth tries to hammer in?
It's all about the test. You don't have to go through that other rigorous process that they used to go through. It's just a simple blood test. You go into the testing centres and they take a little bit of your blood and they come back with a PSA result, and you go from there. It's as simple, and it's interesting, as I've travelled around and talked to different people, if you ask for a show of hands of people that have had a PSA test in the last 12 months, there's about 50% of the people in any environment that you talk in haven't had a test. So
well, I think it's because of the fear, and I really thought that it was the old method of testing, which everybody sort of laughs and in equal measure is horrified by. So it's definitely just a blood test now.
Simple blood test. You just it's all about just going in and go to your doctor, tell your doctor you want a test, and go from there. Ruth come up with a funny little thing the other day, and it probably relates to us a bit. When I was a young bloke fishing on the river, the important thing for me was to look after my fishing tackle. And now I've got to look after my other tackle. And it really is important.
And that's so cute, because that is another F word, the fishing tackle. That's right. So look after your tackle. Yeah. We're here at the men's shed. What is, and there's a lot of fellowship. You can feel it. You've all just been having morning tea. What is friendship for you, Merv? What does it mean?
Friendship is the men's shed, and we have our moments. We have some guys that make it a little bit difficult, but all in all, we're all mates. We look out for one another. We help one another. Some guys just come along to the shed and sit and have a coffee and a talk, and other guys get involved in all different sorts of things that we do here. We do metalwork and woodworking and all that sort of stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
What about finance? What's your relationship with your finances like as you've gotten older, over 50?
Me, personally, or the men's shed?
No, you personally, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just on an age pension. But I live very well.
You don't struggle on the pension?
No, not at all. We're able to look after ourselves, and I have a partner, and we live very comfortably, and we have what we have and do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
I have no complaints.
Which leads me to my next question. Fun. What do you do for fun, Merv?
It's probably the men's shed is my main avenue of fun or relaxation. Yeah. Over the years I've done different things, fishing and all that sort of stuff, but as you get older and your bones start to creak, you've sort of got to look for something more passive.
What about family? What sort of family have you got, Merv?
I've got 3 daughters. I'm one of 11 children. My mum had 7 girls and 4 boys.
What number are you?
I'm 4th from the bottom. I've got 3 sisters younger than me, and I'm the only surviving boy now. I lost a brother a couple of years ago to cancer, and the other 2 were deceased before I was born. So.
What's the age difference between top and bottom, or what was the age difference? Over what span did your mother have 11 children?
My oldest sister would be 84, and my youngest, middle 50s.
Right. What was that like, growing up in a really big family like that? I mean, by any standards, 11 is a big family, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we grew up in a mallee town, so water was an issue. We always had to watch how much water we used, and so we had a revolving system with the showers. So it would start off with the 3 youngest, and then the next 3 above me.
Was it a shower or was it a bath?
A bath.
Yeah.
With an old chip heater on the end, and then after Mum had her shower, I'd get to have mine.
The boys start going in.
And then my older brother and then my dad. So sometimes you look at the bath and think, I'm cleaner now than if I go in there. You know.
Let alone the little ones who might have done a wee in there as well.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I know that. I tell them all, even now I tell them, you know, they did that.
Yes, I think I might have been guilty of that once or twice myself. All right, what about your relationship with food? What's your favourite food, Merv?
Italian.
Italian food? Yeah. Have you much of a cook? Growing up in a big family?
I can
Did
survive.
you always sort of be pinching stuff off your brother and sister's plates?
No, not really, but we were well fed. My mother come from a rural background. Her mum and dad were on the land, my grandparents, and Grandpa used to bring in, we called them two-tooths, sheep, about one every 3 weeks, and Dad would slaughter them, and we always had a big veggie garden, and the veggie garden was the barter system was very much alive and well then. You'd take peas to Mrs. Poole, and Mrs. Poole would give you grapes and all that sort of stuff, you know, so, yeah.
Sounds idyllic. Merv, I've run out of time with you, I'm afraid. Thank you for making time for me. One of the 2 questions that I always ask my guests on Big Little Small Talk is, who's your favourite royal?
I don't have one. I'm a Republican. But if I had to pick one, I think Kate. She's pretty good.
What do you like about Kate?
Oh, she's just down to earth, and she's a good-looking girl too.
All
You're
right.
allowed to look.
You strike me as someone who likes to have fun, Merv. What about if you're at the dance and this song comes on? What's the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
Well, I've got 2 left feet, and I'm into country music. I love country music. I listen to a lot of it, even now. So, country tunes, boot scooting boogie. That's a good one. But I can't boot scoot too good.
You can boot scoot with 2 left feet, I think.
Yeah.
Merv, thank you so much for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk.
No worries. Thank you, Megan.
I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 4DDB 102.7 FM and we're on Big Little Small Talk, and you're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. This is a series that I'm doing called Give an F Over 50, and it's all about the lives and F words of people over 50. Nothing rude, of course. And it is a suggestion that Lyndall Hill from WordFest Toowoomba gave to me, because WordFest is all about stories and storytelling and love of literature and words and anything story. So I'm out at the Pittsworth men's shed, and I have my next participant, who's called Jeff Baker. He's a long-term Pittsworth resident and a member of the men's shed. Thank you for being my guest, Jeff.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Jeff, how often do you come to the men's shed?
I would say 95% of the time I come every Tuesday and Thursday mornings.
So generally 2 days a week. Are you working on anything particular at the moment?
Well, I'm the treasurer at the men's shed, which gives me a fair bit of work to do, paperwork. But when I'm not doing paperwork, I love doing some woodwork and even occasionally metalwork.
Who works out what projects you're going to do, or do you only work on your individual projects, or how does the whole system work?
No, we will. There are shed captains that are in charge of each shed, and like the woodwork captain I'll approach him and say, "Have you got a job I can do?" Or he might approach me and ask me to do a job. And that's how it's working at the moment. Yes, but we sometimes bring our own. Like I might bring a project of my own in. I might have a wooden chair that's got a broken leg on it, so I'll bring it in and then I'll fix that. I'll use all the equipment and everything here, and I'll fix that up myself.
What other sheds are there? You said that is there the metalwork shed and the timber? Just take me through that. How does that work?
Well, basically it is woodwork and metalwork. Those are the main 2 sheds, but then if there's something that might require both, it might be a wooden table with steel legs or something, we'll do both things.
And just asking for a friend, but do you do work, do outside people come and give you projects to do?
Yeah, we do quite a lot of work, repair work for someone will bring in some furniture that's damaged and we'll repair it and charge them for it. Mainly just charge material costs and a certain amount of labour, but yes, we do quite a lot of work for outside people.
That chair of mine that's sitting in the hallway with the leg broken off on the weekend when my boys were swinging on it, now I know where to bring it. Brilliant.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And Jeff, before you retired, I take it you've retired if you're at the men's shed 2 days a week?
Yes, I've retired and I'm tired, yes.
What sort of work did you do prior to retiring?
Well, most recently we had a fruit and vegetable shop in Pittsworth for 35 years or something.
35 years, that's a fair stretch.
Yes, it is. After that I did some casual work, but basically that was it, yes.
Yeah.
I've been retired for 10 years now, I suppose.
Okay. Tell me about having a long-standing business in a town like Pittsworth. It's such a great town. There's so much to do, such good people look after each other. You would have been a sort of a big part of the community. You know, when you're a business owner, people approach you to sponsor things all the time and sort of to, I guess, be responsible for things in a way.
Yes, that's right to a point, I suppose, that we do play a fair part in what's going on. You do tend to get involved in everything that's happening in the town. But, you know, the thing we've noticed since we got out of the shop is that we don't have the contact with people. We used to know nearly everyone in town. You'd have contact with people and you'd walk down the street and you'd say hello to everybody and you'd know their name. Now we walk out in the street and say hello, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Where did you get the fruit from? Did you have to drive down to the Brisbane markets?
Well, I used to go down to the Granite Belt to a lot of growers down there getting apples and vegetables and things. I used to get some more from around Toowoomba and the Lockyer Valley, and then I'd get what I couldn't get locally I would get from the Brisbane markets, and I'd go down there occasionally, yes.
And in that time, did things change? Like, did the trend of what people were eating or the fact that they might be buying it in the supermarket, did that affect your business?
Yes, that was the main thing that did change, especially when we had the second Woolies, the second supermarket came to town. People, even though they prefer to shop perhaps in the specialist shop, the convenience of going to a supermarket and eating the whole lot there together, and the time saving and that sort of thing. But certainly it did make a big difference, and that's what we ended up having to close because it was just too much competition in town.
I love it. Now, Jeff, I noticed that you're missing a couple of digits. Would that be anything to do with your woodwork or metalwork? Missing three fingers, aren't you?
Missing 3 fingers. That was I used to be a sheep farmer many years ago, and yes, I was cutting up a sheep one day for my own to eat for myself, and the bandsaw fell off the bench. Yes,
it fell off the bench. And what was that like? Where were you? Were you somewhere isolated where took you a long time to get into care?
Yes, I was in Burren Junction in New South Wales, black soil roads. It was wet at the time and a little bit difficult to travel, and my wife was heavily pregnant at the time, so it was rather difficult getting into Narrabri to the hospital. But
did you have the forethought to pick up the digits at all?
Yes, I did.
And you took them with you? And what did you take them in?
Because I was sure they'd sew them back on.
Yeah. And what did you take them in? Like,
I can't remember now.
Were you in an excruciating pain?
Not really, actually. It was surprising. It wasn't all that painful at the time.
And was it bleeding? It would have been bleeding like mad.
No, we had to put bandages on fairly tight around my arm to stop the blood, yeah.
Did you drive the car yourself, or did your wife drive?
No, my wife drove me in.
And were you passing out from the pain and the blood loss or anything like that?
Not at all,
right.
no.
And when you realised that you were going to be without those fingers, did that sort of change your life in any way?
Oh, not really, because I can physically do everything that I was able to do. I mean, this was sort of 40, 50 years ago, I suppose. No, it didn't really affect me a great deal at all. Luckily, it was my right hand, and I was always left-handed anyway, so that was a help.
Right. I was talking to another gentleman at morning tea who has a right prosthesis when he has a metal gripping thing that he picks things up. And he said he's had that for, I can't remember, 45, 50 years. And he's just sort of so used to it. But I was wondering, around your group, is there a lot of missing digits and arms? Not anything you've ever...
No, I don't really think so. There's only 2 or 3 of us that have got anything missing that I'm aware of.
So I started to say before, Jeff, about doing this series, the Give a F over 50. One of the questions that I ask people is, and it's probably an obvious one, about friendship. So what does friendship mean to you? Perhaps in the context of the men's shed, but even outside outside the shed?
Well, the friendship is the great thing about the men's shed. I mean, possibly in about half of our members, the most important thing is the morning tea, when we sit down and have a yarn to each other. And it's just great to have the communication with other men, because a lot of us in our lives, we don't really meet one another very much otherwise, and it can be quite lonely sometimes. It's just myself and my wife perhaps, and I would go shopping and meet someone, but just to come here and get together with the guys, it's great. I mean, our wives, the ladies, do the same thing. They go to their lady groups for different things too, so that's a great idea.
Not that it's a competition, Jeff, but I was at the women's shed in Toowoomba last week, and that was why I decided to come and balance the ledger by interviewing the men. But I have to say the spread at the morning tea at the ladies, the women's shed, was a little bit better than your packets of biscuits out there and a few Cheerios and a few sausage rolls. But I don't think you blokes care too much, do you?
No, look, we usually do pretty well. I haven't actually been to the morning tea this morning because we've got a visiting group here. It's all a bit different. But no, normally we've got one of the guys goes down to the supermarket and buys cakes and everything. We always have nice food.
Nobody brings any homemade stuff?
Oh, occasionally this guy makes a bit himself, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's my next question is, as you've gotten older, particularly over 50, although 50 seems like such a young age to be talking about anything over 50, what's your relationship with food? Like, do you do much of the cooking at home, or...?
No, I must admit I don't do a lot of cooking. My wife is wonderful and cooks everything for us. I can occasionally, but no, I don't.
What's she go to if you have to cook something, if she's just too unwell to get out of bed?
Oh, I'll cook veggies, steam up the veggies and cook meat and all the basic cooking. I won't go to bake a cake or make anything fancy out of a recipe. It's always just the basic things.
And what about fitness, Jeff? Have you maintained your fitness as you've gotten older, do you think?
Yeah, I try to do. I try to keep fit. I go to the park run every Saturday morning and try to keep mobile and keep going. I don't go to weightlifting and all that type of thing and gyms, but I just like to keep active. Yes.
Do you run at the park run, or do you walk?
I used to, but I've had a hip replacement this last year and I'm not allowed to run now, so I've got an excuse. So I do walk as fast as I can.
Yeah. And would you walk during the week as well?
Oh yes, we always walk up to town to go shopping and that sort of thing too.
Yeah, wonderful. Family for you, Jeff, what does family look like for you? Your family of origin and your family of creation. Do you have any children?
Yeah, we have 3 girls. One of them is in Canada, so we've got an excuse to travel overseas as well. And two daughters in Brisbane. Yeah, we're all fairly close. We keep in touch all the time. As far as my original family, I come from New Zealand. I was born in New Zealand, and but I don't have any family left over there. I have some cousins and so on, but my immediate family are all passed on.
Was that a strange sensation to think that you're the last of your family living?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do. I have one sister left. She's in Canada too.
We forgot her.
Yeah, poor girl.
Poor sister, that's right.
Yeah.
What about finances? We talked briefly about having the fruit shop. Another F word, there we are, the fruit shop. Finances, you do the finances in the family, or is that something your wife does, or a combined effort?
Yeah, we share that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've managed fairly well over the years to...
Oh, well, we're surviving. We're on the pension, and we have a certain amount of super and saved money. Nothing extravagant, but we do have a little bit, because unfortunately we weren't able to sell our business. We just had to close it down, so That was a bit difficult.
Exactly.
We're okay.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Just sort of budgeting it out, I guess, and particularly if you want to do anything like any overseas travel and things. Yeah. So my last two questions for you, Jeff. The Royals. I don't know whether you'd be someone who's into the Royals. Merv told me he's a Republican, but who's your favourite Royal? It doesn't have to be a living person, and it doesn't have to be English.
I have trouble with my memory, even remembering the names of the Royals, things like that. I really can't say I've got a favourite, I'm sorry.
Not a favourite because you're forgetting them. So that might be a good thing. They're not high on a priority list for you.
They're not high on my priority. I'm all for them, but no, they're not high on my priority.
Yeah. When you say you're all for them, what do you mean by that?
Well, I support them. I'm not against the Royal like Republican. I'm quite happy with the situation as it is, but
yeah. So the referendum that we had a few years ago for a republic, you feel as though they hold still an important place in Australian society?
I'm very much so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very traditional.
That's good. What about the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
As I said, I was singing yesterday and singing for fun, and we sang all these dance songs. I can't even remember the name of one of them now. I've been trying to think of one.
Well, that's okay, because I just want to explore that a little bit more, because I missed my question about what you do for fun. So you're here a couple of days a week. You go to Singing for Fun, which is in Pittsworth, is it?
Yeah, it's a U3A organisation, and we have every second Wednesday we have this group. We just go along and sing for a couple of hours and just for fun. It's not a choir or anything professional, no.
How beautiful. And they talk about singing, it's a bit like exercise. All the endorphins are released, and are there many men in that group?
Oh yes, there's 4 or 5 of us, I suppose, in a group of probably 10 or 15.
Wonderful. Who decides what you're going to sing?
Oh, the lady who runs it for us, she plays the piano, and we all have our song book, and she just picks which one she's going to play.
Right. Do you ever go and perform anywhere, say at the nursing home, or...?
We occasionally, yes, do go down to Barra once or twice a year, perhaps. That's all.
Do you think that you're getting, as a group, more cohesive and better, or you just don't even worry about it? It's just...
We don't worry about it. We're not worried about perfection.
Not worried about
perfection.
We're
just having there for fun.
For fun.
Yeah.
And what other things do you do, Jeff? You got the men's shed, the Singing for Fun. Any other regular activities?
I'm quite involved in the Anglican Church, and I'm a warden there, and we have, things to organise there. We just last weekend had our trash and treasure sale at the town hall and book sale. So there's always things happening, yes. And then with the community garden, we're involved in that as well.
Where is the community garden?
That is actually behind the hall of the Anglican Church.
Well, you're a perfect example of people who live in country towns, take advantage of everything there is to do, and become involved. And it's been lovely hearing your story. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for being my guest.
Thank you.
Welcome back, listeners. You're on 40dB 102.7 FM, and you're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, on Big Little Small Talk. My third guest today is called Graham Cook, and he's also a member of the Pittsworth Men's Shed. Cookie, thank you for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk. Now, Cookie, I'll just set out the rules of engagement here. I'm doing a series for Give an F over 50. It's about a few things: finance, fun, food, family, fitness, friendships, in conjunction with WordFest, who is a storytelling organisation, words, reading, anything literature, which is happening in Toowoomba, run by Lyndall Hill. And this was a suggestion of hers for people over 50, give an F over 50. We're here today at the Men's Shed, and I guess if I start with friendship, what does friendship in the Men's Shed mean to you, Cookie?
Friendship in the Men's Shed, yes. It's a good cause for the older generation of men. It's particularly concerns me of the health and well-being of our fellow members. Some have lost their partners, and they're a little bit lost. Also, with partners, they come as an out, and in some cases, their partner directs them to the men's shed.
To the men's shed.
To the men's shed to get out of the house and mix with similar camaraderie of it all helps their mental health. I think that's.
Cookie, what happens if you haven't got skills? If you weren't a very hands-on type of person and you don't know how to do any woodwork or any metal work, what do you do then?
Well, a lot of them they learn. They learn from others. It's like a bit like the theme of shoulder to shoulder within the men's shed. They'll help in other people doing projects. I see it quite often, even people with severe disabilities. They're doing stuff. We've got one, for instance, now. He's only a new member. He's 18 years old and has the autism, and he's been given virtually a different person to be with for that morning each week, and he's just getting involved. For instance, I walked past last week, we've got a fitter and turner here, a member, on the metal lathe, and he was assigned this young fellow to help, to learn, and I just couldn't believe that he jumped in and hands-on to what he was being shown on the metal lathe, and it was quite interesting.
Is that true of, say, older men too? You're not sort of too embarrassed to ask and get taught something?
That's probably you see that amongst some members actually. But I think that breaks down that this being able to discuss things, and will they particularly take the mickey out of each other, and that's the camaraderie of how they get on.
Just tell me about that, because when I say to my husband, and if he's been out with his mates, I said, what did you talk about? And he goes, just the footy, mostly talk about the footy. Do you ever talk sort of personal things?
Well, sometimes it comes up, but not often. No, it's just more of a general, as I see it, as general communications.
Cookie, everyone here is either wearing a Men's Shed branded shirt, or you've got a beautifully collared shirt on with Men's Shed on one side, Graham on the other side. A lot of people have got the caps on. Who is behind all this merch? Who's so good with the branding and everything?
Well, that came about initially by the original, it would be some 9 years ago now. I think I think 2014 was the first year. I joined in 2015, and it came about by a local butcher sponsored the Men's Shed cap, and
you better give him a plug.
yeah, that was Tomo's Butchery, and he I think he sponsored us for about 3 or 4 years, and the shirts come about with the Toowoomba hip pocket workwear, and we had found out that they had been sponsoring other men's sheds in Toowoomba with their shirts, and it started from there, and they come on board with us, and they sponsored us for $1,000 a year, and in one year we went up to about $1,800, and they just sent a letter to say that they've tipped in another $1,000.
Wow.
So, and they also supply us the safety equipment for eyes and eyewear and masks and ear protection. And
how many members have you got, Cookie? There seems to be a big group of people here.
We've got 44 currently, but there's been a bit of an influx over the last few weeks. We've probably had 5 or 6 more. I actually got another one last Tuesday.
So what did COVID do to your operations? Were you able? You wouldn't have been able to meet?
We had 50 prior to COVID. We had about 53 members, and it did drop off in the first year because we were closed for 3 months, and then when we come back under restrictions, a lot of the elder people didn't return, and of course some have passed away since then too, so that it's a natural decline. But
so I suppose this is probably a bit of an obvious question, but for fun, what does fun look like for Cookie, apart from the men's shed? What other sorts of things do you do?
Well, we've got grandchildren, I suppose. That's fun.
Sure.
The grandkids' interests, they're only 13 and 15, and they're starting to find out there's a big world there, and it's interesting.
What do they call you, Cookie?
Pa.
And what about your wife?
My wife calls me Graham, but of course everyone calls me Pa in our family.
Well, that's my next F word question is family. So have you've got more than one child, or?
Yeah, we have our granddaughter's about to turn 15, and grandson is 13, or he will be in September. We have a 15-year-old granddaughter in Finland.
That's another F word, Finland. Beautiful.
My son's lived there for some 25 years.
Let me guess, did he get hooked up with a Finnish girl?
Married a Finn, and they had a daughter some years later, and
Have you been over to Finland to see him?
We went over there for their wedding in 2003. We haven't been back since. And they were coming out just prior to, when COVID hit. They were coming out for Christmas, and they had to cancel their flights, of course.
What about your own family? The family did you grow up in Pittsworth?
No, I grew up in New South Wales, a place called Arimba, and it's near Gosford on the Central Coast. I was born in Gosford, actually.
What type of work did you do before you retired, Cookie?
Well, I was a soft drink manufacturer.
Oh my goodness, I've just put 2 and 2 together. So you're cooks.
Cook soft drinks.
Soft drinks. Oh, beg your pardon. Famous cooks soft drinks from Pittsworth.
40 years, almost to the day. And when I retired, or so-called retired, in 2015.
Did you set up that factory?
The factory, we had. It was the old cheese factory we moved into. I bought an existing business in 1975. It was called Rankin's Soft Drinks, and they just made it for local hotel and schools, and people used to call in, and that was the business, call in and get their weekly supply. But we grew it from there.
What did you do? How did you grow it? Did you introduce new sarsaparillas, or? Well,
yes. It took several years. We didn't move into the old cheese factory till 2078, 2001. And it sort of developed. We got a contract to supplying a big company for their vendors to sell. It was a juice company, berry juice fruit, and we were actually contract bottling mineral water, which was drawn from our bore on the premises, and we sort of had our own business as well. It was a home delivery business. Did all the towns around, like Millmerran, Cecil Plains, Oakey and Toowoomba, and we did the home delivery service because that's how the business was in those days. We didn't have any supermarket opposition. That came later, and that sort of made us change and look at boutique range, which we did in a 375ml stubby bottle, a brown stubby bottle, and we actually call that the Dad's range, made by Cook Soft Drinks. That developed very quickly. Of course, the opposition to us there was the Bundaberg ginger beer, and then they were only making the ginger beer, and we, because of the berries vendors, they wanted other flavours, so we started to introduce, and that's how it happened. We added the ginger beer, we added the double sauce, and then the lemon lime bitters, and then the raspberry came after that because they just kept asking for more flavours, and we were supplying about 50 plus pallets a month down to Brisbane, and then they sent it up to their Townsville factory, and from there it was distributed to Darwin and Cairns, and it just went all over the place. And then I had phone calls from a guy on holidays up at the it's just north of Cairns, was
Cooktown?
No, it was just close to Cairns. Goodness me. Anyway, he was on holidays from Western Australia, and he wanted to know if he could call in and talk to us about your ginger beer. I just had a sample of your ginger beer here, and he'd like to distribute it in Western Australia. And so that did happen. I think our first shipment went by ship around to Fremantle. I think it took about 3 months to get there from when we produced it, and then went by rail in the container down to the Brisbane wharves, and then it went round to Western Australia. So that was a lot of publicity came from that, because we had people on holidays. I think they're driving into Kalgoorlie, and they were tonguing for a nice drink, and another same story. They had bought a ginger beer, and they read on it Cook Soft Drinks. They couldn't believe it.
What an incredible story! I've run out of time, but I guess that just on the F words and the finance, how did you handle that explosion of the business?
Well, my wife was very good. We had a bookkeeper actually to help us, and an accountant, and my wife used to do all the computer work, because we had our own business as well, daily deliveries, which our trucks travelled all down as far as Tenterfield, and then out to Roma and those places. And
so you were working hard, not a lot of time for fun, I wouldn't imagine.
Well,
no.
We didn't have holidays. Well, just go, yeah.
A lot of hard work. Cookie, are you a person who's interested in the royals? Who's your favourite royal?
Not particularly, but my wife had a lot of time for Diana.
What did she like about Diana?
No, she's just loved the way she presented herself, and possibly the hard knocks she was receiving towards the latter part of that career. But I didn't sort of get involved personally, but
not too interested.
Don't argue with my wife.
Good motto. What about dancing? You were working so hard. Is there a song that if it came on, if you did on the rare occasion get to dance, a song that couldn't keep you off the dance floor?
Oh, not particularly. Doesn't come to mind.
Were you a dancing person?
Oh, we did go to country dances in my young days, yeah. My parents encouraged us to go to the local weekly dances.
You didn't stand on too many feet?
Oh, probably. Probably.
Oh, Cookie, thank you so much for unfolding your story in such a gentle and unexpected way. That was just lovely to hear the story. I'd love to hear some more about the business sometime, so we might have to come back and do a Cookie special. But
okay, no,
wonderful. Thank you so much for being my guest on Big Little Small Talk.
Thank you.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.